How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. It's nice and hot.
Yeah, mate, it is super hot, man. I feel like I need to do these in the garden with the laptop, but then there's just a lot of wind and noise and all of that, and it gets a bit too, you know.
Exactly. I need to open some windows. It's very, very hot in here.
How you been?
Uh, I've been good. I mean, I just finished my degree, so I've been
Congrats.
chilling for a while. So yeah, it's nice and chilled at the moment before we're about to start work in a month or so.
Got it. When does it start with training, or are you going straight into work, like into the desk,
So,
or is there like a formal training program?
so we're starting the training program. I mean, it was meant to be like in New York, like most
Yeah.
other banks, but obviously you can't do that.
Man, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
That's annoying. But maybe, hopefully, once COVID settles down a year or two later, you'll probably be flying out there anyway.
We
For
hope
the
so.
actual training. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's not the worst thing that can happen. So we're happy to start.
Yeah. How are you keeping up with like working, like, well, COVID, being at home, not going out as much? How you faring?
So I mean, to be honest, I am okay
Yeah.
because I'm fortunate enough that I live in an area where there's lots of greenery and I like to go cycling. So it's not
Nice.
too bad for me. I've been able to do lots of exercise. I mean, I like basketball a lot. Basketball my favorite sport by far. However, I can't do that at the moment. But I've replaced it with cycling, so it's not too bad. How about you?
Nice. So I also like cycling. I actually fractured my elbow 3 weeks ago, though.
Really? Oh
Yeah,
dear.
yeah. I was going so slow, and I just must have. I lost
Oh,
concentration, buckled, and fractured my elbow. But I'm all right now.
okay.
I can't lie. Before this call, I checked your Instagram, and
Yeah.
your slam dunk. Like, I see you in the air for time, and like I could tell you're solid at basketball. And then I thought, let me check his LinkedIn. And you were, captain of the men's basketball team, which is impressive. But we'll go into all of that throughout this convo. But
Okay.
before we carry on, I just want to say, thanks for taking the time to jump on this call. I want it to be like an informal chat, just
Yeah.
so anyone watching it, students, pre-uni, in uni, or graduates, can hopefully learn from your story, your journey, what any tips or advice that you've got. So to kick off, it would be good to kind of, maybe if you could introduce yourself, what you're currently doing, or what you're going to be doing in terms of your career, etc.
Okay, so hi, I'm Joel McFarlane. I've just completed an undergraduate degree at Imperial College London in physics, and in a few months, I'll be starting work at Credit Suisse as a trader.
Amazing. In terms of, because oftentimes a lot of the people watching, they see people in the career, they see people who have got the offers and that, but they want to dig deeper and find out a bit more about the person, about their journey, their story. So if we take it back to like your upbringing and growing up, what was life like growing up? Did you have like a busy household? Did you have parents who were adamant on you becoming working in a certain industry? Were they focused on your studies? How was all of that?
Okay, so I mean, growing up, my parents are they're not super insistent on education, but we do understand the value of education. I've been pushed in that direction uh, by myself and by my parents initially. So I started doing, I mean, I'm interested in maths. I do a lot of maths. Anyone who knows me knows I talk about maths all day. So I started off doing a lot of like sort of extra maths work when I was younger, and continued that through secondary school, and hence I'm doing a degree in physics now. I went to a comprehensive school in Croydon called Archbishop Tennyson's. I mean, it was a good school. It did the job. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't the greatest school in the world, but it was good enough. And I went to a selective school called Harris Westminster in Westminster, and that school really did quite a job on me. It made me much better in terms of speaking, in terms of being able to put myself across. I was fortunate enough to become the student president there, which gave me experience in leadership, and I started playing a lot of basketball. So yeah, it was a fun time.
Got it. Great. And on that point about your school and how it played quite an important role in developing, some of the key skills that allow you to go and secure internships or graduate schemes, like, your confidence, how you present yourself, public speaking. How, like, myself, for example, I went to a state school. We didn't get much of that. And so if for students that aren't as fortunate or aren't able to go to such schools, how would you say, or how would you advise for them to develop such skills? Would you have any tips on that? Or
So I think the best way is to read. I mean, reading doesn't really develop your confidence, but in terms of just knowing the sort of general what's going on in the world. Reading is really what I advise. That was really the direction I was pushing at sixth form, to read a lot of books, and it really helped me to gain confidence, because what I found is in a lot of these interviews and informal chats, it's much easier to talk to people if you know what you're talking about, or you have something to speak about. So yeah, I'm really passionate about reading. I read a lot of economics, finance, physics, maths books, whatever is interesting. So yeah, that's one thing. The next thing I'd say is it's a little bit harder if you don't live in a city, but try and go to lots of these free lectures. I know LSE put on quite a lot of free lectures while I was at sixth form, and those were really interesting. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't really understand what was going on at the time. However, it allowed you sort of get a feel for what goes on in the sort of corporate mindset and how they make decisions. So yeah, I'd say those two things are main. And also, I mean, joining a sports team really helped me to develop confidence as well. Leading the men's team in basketball at Imperial helped a lot in developing confidence, because you have to be quite assertive most of the time. Yeah. And a sports team is a great way. There's not too high pressure, not too high stakes, sort of gain that experience.
Got it. That's really good advice. In terms of, so when you finished you did A-levels or international baccalaureate? A-levels. A-levels. What did you study at your A-levels?
I did maths, chemistry, economics, and physics. And I really enjoyed all four of them, to be honest. I mean, when I was going to university, I did physics at university, but I was quite sad to leave chemistry and economics behind. I mean, I didn't really leave maths behind by any stretch of the imagination, but I was quite sad to leave those two behind, because they were really fun.
And what was the influencing factor that made you want to do physics at uni? And also, were your eyes set on Imperial throughout, or were you considering other options or different universities?
So, I mean, to be honest, I don't advise, the way I did my university choices, I would not advise anyone do. It's just to look at a league table and go, right, that's the top one, that's the next one. Don't do that. Really check out the university first, because I really do like Imperial, but there are some things I know now that I wish I would have known when I went there. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I selected my university. But in terms of what led me to do physics, I mean, I just really was interested in physics. I just thought to myself, what is the most interesting aspect of the A-levels that I've liked so far? And it was physics. So I picked that one, and also I was good at it. So I picked the one I was good at, because I thought that's a good idea. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it, to be honest.
Got it. I mean, physics, Imperial, not a bad place to be. Like, credit to your hard work and dedication. I guess it's also important for anyone watching this, like how you apply yourself pre-university is just as important as getting into the top uni and then getting onto top jobs, because it kind of sets that ground for you to, or that foundation for you to work on, right? Yeah. When you got to uni, so now you're a first year at Imperial, did you kind of know you wanted to go into the world of banking and all of that? Did you have a game plan? What was your strategy? All of that?
So, funny story. So I actually got into investment banking before I went to university. So Credit Suisse have this program called Steps to Success. Yeah. And I happened to be on that program. And it's a scholarship program where they give you internships throughout your before your first year of university, the second year of university, and the final 10-week main internship after your second year. That's how I got into it. I know it was a great program. I do rate it.
What's it called? Sorry, Steps to Success.
Steps to Success. So if you're in year 12 at the moment, check out Credit Suisse Steps to Success, because it's really a great program, and I really do recommend it. So yeah, I mean, what I found, because going into investment banking after year 13, really I had absolutely no clue what's going on. I didn't think I had no clue, but I did. Yeah. So it was a great experience to sort of see different areas of the bank, because we started off in global markets. Yeah. And Credit Suisse, there are two divisions called global markets and investment banking division. And we started off in global markets, got to see equity research, and a bit of sales and trading as well, and got a feel for what that was like. And then went to IBD the next year and sort of got a feel for what that was like. And I preferred the sales and trading aspects a lot more than any other aspect. So that was where I sort of fell in love, if you want to put it like that.
Yeah. No, that was going to be one of my questions, like, because I looked at your LinkedIn and I saw you did a bit of experience in IBD and on markets, and what made you go for markets. But naturally, I think a lot of individuals or graduates from the physics or the maths or the statistics backgrounds tend to like being on the trading floor compared to being in corporate finance, for example. But that course sounds amazing. That program sounds amazing. What is it like? You just apply and then you go for a series of interviews, or how does it work? Who can get onto it?
So it's a bit like, I mean, the application process is very similar to the application for a 10-week program or a spring week, for example. It's a bit more involved in the spring week, but I'd say it's similar to the 10-week program in that you submit a CV and cover letter, telephone interviews, then you have an assessment center, then you have a final interview after that, and then that's it. I mean, the program is for underprivileged and underrepresented backgrounds, people from those sort of backgrounds. So if you fit into those criteria, you can apply. It is a really good. I'm not being paid to say this. It is a really good program. If you can get onto it, I think it's probably the best program for people of that age to see investment banking. You get to see a lot of different things.
How big was the class?
So, I mean, it varies from year to year as far as I know, but my year there was 5 of us.
Okay, wow. So I guess it's a select few, and obviously you're a very high achiever, and credit to you to be. I'm sure there was probably thousands of applications, but you're one of 5. But that's not to say it's not impossible. And anyone watching this should definitely check it out. Credit Suisse Steps to Success, right?
Yes.
Cool. And then I noticed another thing on your LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn profile is very impressive, by the way.
Thank you.
No worries. And so you got to uni. Was it this program that provided a fully funded scholarship for you?
Yes, it's the same program.
Same program. Got it. And so that's covering $9,000 for 3 years.
Yes.
Wow. So I went to uni. I graduated in 2014. Back then it was $3,000 a year, which was obviously a lot smaller than it is now. But to have that covered for you, that is massive. That's really good. Cool. In terms of when you're at uni, the culture at uni and your peers, like your close inner circle, was everyone like focused on spring weeks, internships, grad schemes, or were people focused on different things like consulting, or were some people just not really bothered?
So in my physics sort of cohort in Imperial is quite different because most people are on 4. I'm on a 3-year degree. I did 3-year BSc physics, but the majority of people are on 4-year degrees. So initially, I'd say it wasn't as high pressure as some other universities. For example, my friends at LSE, they seem to have the experience that everyone is immediately going for spring weeks as soon as they arrive on the university. So it's less pressure, but I'd say in second year, when I was in second year, that was when a lot of people started applying to these programs. And because we're in Imperial, because we're doing physics, a lot of people are also interested in research. So there's not that many people proportionally in terms of the whole cohort applying for these programs, but there is still quite a few. So yeah, I mean, there was people were asking me what I think of this bank, what this internship. I don't really know. I haven't been to any other banks, but yeah, it was. There's quite a lot of people applying to them.
Cool. What challenges did you face along the way? Were there any obstacles or whether it might be in the assessment process or application process, were there any obstacles between you and securing your offers?
So, I mean, initially, I went into the mindset that what I say to anyone sort of going for any interviews, first of all, is going with sort of a selling point. Yeah. So my selling point was I can speak to people and I can do maths and explain it relatively well. So that was what I sort of sold, and that is what I pushed for 3 years. Yeah. And ultimately I don't know why they hired me, but I think that's why they hired me, because of that sort of skill set and that sort of ability to sell a specific thing. Obviously, it doesn't work for everyone, but that is what I'd say is my attitude. And in terms of barriers, I'd say just the main barrier I faced was knowledge, because the bank is massive. Like it's a massive organization, and you don't really know what's going on. The first 2 internships, you're really quite confused most of the time, and that was probably the biggest obstacle to overcome, because you need to sort of get to grips with stuff. And there's various ways of doing that, from talking to people, which is probably the best way, I think, to research on websites like Investopedia. And yeah, I mean, one thing that I did find quite strange was I went into quite a lot of misconceptions about the industry in general, because there's quite a lot of resources online that can tell you a certain story about the industry and about a certain person's experience. But some of them are extremely positive, some of them are extremely negative. But I found that most people were exaggerating in one way or another. So yeah, I mean, I'd say everything online in terms of opinions, take it with a pinch of salt, because your experience probably won't be the same as everyone else's, and their experience may be that way, but your experience probably won't be.
I think that's a very good point, because I mean, for every argument, you can probably find a counter argument. You can find opposing views. So yeah, I think that's very important to state. Always take this with a pinch of salt. because it's very important. When you did your summer intern, so you did 10 weeks in markets and 10 weeks in the investment banking division?
So I had 4 weeks in market in equity research. Then I
Yeah.
had 6 weeks in investment banking division. Then I had 10 weeks in global markets again.
Got it. Okay, cool. I want to dig deeper into the experiences across the two. So if this is one of the toughest questions, and it's, if you were to explain to a 5-year-old what you did in corporate finance, how would you explain that?
So, I mean, see, corporate finance is a tough one, because what I'd say, I'll be the person holding the company's hand through a whole lot of really hard stuff. That's what I'd say.
Nice.
Because yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing. In markets, it's much easier, I think.
Yeah.
But you're fundamentally at its core, you're buying and selling securities. So buying and selling property or assets or anything. That's much easier to explain, but corporate finance is a bit more difficult.
Fair. And then because I know a lot of the comments when I put this on YouTube are going to be, oh, what did he do on his internship, in the 6 weeks or the 4 weeks, etc. So what would like a typical day for an intern for you as an intern, what would that have been?
I'll do investment banking and markets separately because they're very different. So I'd say in markets, you come in about 7 a.m. roughly, arrive on the desk, read through Bloomberg on the news, just check if anything's happened. We had several projects that we could do. So it depends. The way the internship worked was rotational for me. So in markets, went to different desks. So it kind of depends on the desk you're on. But I'd say generally, you need to check the news, go through a list of the top stories you think would be relevant, and then present it to your team, but just before the market opens. After that, I'd say work on your own projects. I'd work on my own projects for the next hour to 2 hours and have a chat with either my manager or someone else on the team just to see what's going on. And then maybe I'd do a little bit of sort of shadowing around the desk to see what's going on, see what people are doing, see if there's anything interesting that they think I should be aware of until at lunchtime. Following lunchtime, they get quite busy again because the US market opens soon after that. So do your own projects again after that. And then generally I like to shadow someone just before the end of the day, because you're closing the opener when you get the most activity, and that's the most interesting time. And I was quite fortunate that I had managers that were willing to sit with me for extended periods of time and show me what's going on. That's probably the best way to understand it. Because if you just hear random things, it's not random, but it sounds like random things being shouted across the trading floor, you're really not going to understand what's going on. It does take someone to explain what these things mean to get an idea of what's going on. An investment banking division, it's quite different. So you come in a little bit later. It was protected hours, so you wouldn't need to stay extra long hours into the night. So you come in first thing in the morning, you check your email, see if there's anything you can do. If there's not anything you can do, you go around, ask the other analysts if there's anything they can do. And after that, I generally got more senior. So you ask people if there's anything you can do, not harassing people, but going around seeing if anything you can be useful.
Yeah.
And normally there is. I don't really have to ask that many people before I find something that I can do, or I'm giving something to do. Work on that through the day. Go for coffee with people also from the team during the day. It's really important to chat to people and see what's going on. Get some experience shared from people in the upper ranks and the lower ranks. I'd say everyone, I don't think it's good to concentrate your coffees on people in low ranks or upper ranks respectively. I think it's good to have both, sort of with all of it. Otherwise, you don't really understand what's going on because their jobs are quite different. So I mean, and then after, go home at the end of the day and repeat.
No, fair. That's very detailed. That's good. You touched on kind of the importance of networking and going for coffees.
I'd say it's very important in getting your name out there and getting people to know you, because I found that, or I haven't seen anyone do this, but I thought that if you just sit by yourself and you do your work great, no one's really going to know you're there. And it's not really good to leave an impression you're not really there, because, I mean, well, what was the point of being there then if you're not going to do anything? Like, it's important to get to know people and get to know the team, because part of working in any organization is getting on with the people in that organization. So to do that, you need to talk to them, hence going for coffee.
Great. Yeah, I think once again, the communication, posting, letting people know what you're working on, it's very, very important. And it can be quite tough for students and graduates, because naturally, you enter the world of work and you're kind of like right at the bottom compared to everyone else. Right? So it takes some confidence to be able to project yourself or speak in meetings even. But it's very, very important.
In fact, on the meetings front, I'd say whenever I did anything or any kind of work, especially in the market side, because I'm from a physics background, I have quite a high level of mathematical knowledge compared to some other people who haven't done a mathematical subject. So I'd say it's really important to communicate exactly what you've done, because there's no point building the most complex algorithm ever only for someone to say, when they actually understand it because you've explained it properly, actually that's not going to work because of this reason and this reason. Like, that's a super, super important area, I think, to emphasize, because you can be extremely smart, you can be a genius, but if no one understands what you're doing, it's not really very useful in the long term.
Yeah, that's very, very good point. How much of your degree do you use in markets or in the role that you're going to be joining full time?
So I'd say I use quite a lot of the maths from my physics degree.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I try and use the maths, if that makes sense. I will try and use it if it can be used, and I think it'll be useful. Yeah, I mean, quite a lot, because there's a lot of statistics involved, a lot of linear algebra involved in the role I'll be doing. So these areas that are coming up in my degree are also important in finance. And that's why I chose to study physics. One of the other reasons is because it's applicable to a lot of different problems.
Yeah.
Linear algebra, for example, is something we learn in physics that's core to the degree. And it's applicable in things like machine learning, things that are coming up in finance quite a lot. So yeah.
Got it. Great. And in terms of pros, I know it's still early days because you haven't started your full-time role.
Yeah.
From doing the 10-week internship prior to securing your offer, what would you say are some of the pros and cons of that type of role?
So, I mean, the pros are you get to work in a field with extremely smart people, and you get to work at the front of it, seeing what's going on day to day. Like, this is not, it's not a trial role. You're not doing something that's sort of in practice or in theory, sorry. You're actually applying this to the real world, and real decisions are made based on what you're doing. And that's really appealing to me. The only cons I can think of, I mean, to be honest, it's not really a con for me, so I don't mind, but the hours can be quite long. And for some people, they don't like that. I don't really mind doing that, to be honest, because I'm a morning person anyway. So we get up really early in the mornings for markets, and we finish at 6 o'clock roughly, or 6, depends on what day it is and what group you're on, but you don't finish late into the night most of the time. So the hours are not too bad in my opinion, but some people would say the con is the hours.
I guess for some of the viewers, if you're going into a markets type of role, it's more preferable to be an early bird. You get in early and then you won't leave. You leave not too late in the evening. But if you go into the investment banking division, it's kind of the opposite. You get in a bit later and you'll probably be expected to stay into the evening, sometimes even later. In terms of advice to current students and graduates, especially obviously now it's very tricky given COVID, so there might be hiring freezes and it might be a tricky graduate market. What advice would you give to anyone seeking to enter into a markets role or into investment banking?
So I'd say, first of all, read, as I mentioned before. Reading is super important, because when you get to the interviews, you get speaking to people in the industry, you need to have something to say. So that's the first advice. There's certain books you can read. Liar's Poker, for example, is a good introductory book into the world of corporate finance and investment banking. It's not particularly accurate in terms of the things that go on, in my humble view, but that's one book you can read. In terms of actually getting a role, I'd say add people on LinkedIn and try and talk to them. Try and see what they do. Try and see if they will meet you for coffee. It's a little bit difficult at the moment. Maybe you can ask for a Zoom chat, but that's what I'd say is very useful. Apply to as many firms as possible. Fortunately, I was not in a position where I had to apply for firms very often, but I'd say that is the best thing to do, because at the end of the day, the numbers are not really in our favor. Due to the sheer volume of people applying. So to maximize your chances, you want to apply to as many firms as possible that do the thing you're interested in. And even if you think the firm doesn't do something you're interested in, apply anyway. You never know. You might get in, you might find something you never thought would be interesting to you, and you might like it. I mean, it's happened to me before. So that's what I'd say my main advice.
Obviously, they say it's good to have like a 1 to 3 or 3 to 5 year plan. It's always tricky when you're graduating, because you're looking forward to start your new role. And you never know where things might take you. But do you think that far ahead? Do you kind of see yourself staying in the industry, or do you see yourself exploring different industries or completely different areas of work?
I mean, at the moment, I really am quite focused on the role I'm about to do. I'm a big believer in you're gonna have to put your all into something. So initially, at least, I'm 100% focused on working in this role. Because I think that to get the best out of it, to get the best sort of knowledge, get less experience, you need to focus on that role. So I don't really have a 5-year plan at the moment. Before I joined Credit Suisse, starting uni, I had a sort of plan. The plan was just to go through the internships, try and network with as many people as possible, try and find out as much as possible about every single area that I'm interested in, and make a decision based on that, an informed decision. I'd say having a plan is great up until a certain point.
Yeah.
I don't like to be too rigid. I just like to be flexible. And generally, my plans revolve around getting as much information as possible about different aspects of different industries, so I can make an informed decision on what I want to do.
If we go back in time and let's say you had to start again from entering university, would you do anything differently?
I mean, to be honest, I don't want to sound cocky when I say this, but no.
That's fine. That's credit to your hard work, man. So that's
I mean, the reason I say that, right, is because in university, okay, I said I didn't have a plan before. Let me be honest with you. I had a plan in university. The plan was to get certain leadership roles in university. Like I tried to get into the finance society because I wanted to meet people in the finance society and see how that was, and have an experience on a committee and see how it's like leading a team. I got that experience, got it done. I wanted to play on a sports team. I didn't initially want to become captain, but that happened, and I was grateful for it happening because it gave me loads of experience. And I think the opportunities I've been given, opportunities I've taken in my university career at the moment have been relatively good ones. I'd say that equally, what's one thing you need to do as well is work on your sort of subject, your grades. Your grades need to be very high. I don't know how banks assess people. I'm not an expert in that, but I'm pretty sure grades have something to do with it. So I'd say that's quite important as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have any regrets at the moment. Maybe ask me in a year or two and I might have a different answer. We'll see.
No, that's good. That's good. Going back, so you mentioned you took on a leadership role in Imperial College Finance Society. So you were vice president there. How did you manage to kind of get that? How did you convince, your peers that you are able to do this role and you were the right person for it? And what were some of the benefits of doing that? Because I say to a lot of students that, being a member of a society is easy. Anyone can do that. But what's impressive is kind of taking on a leadership position, because it requires you to do more and gives you more to talk about in interviews and all of that.
When I got to Imperial, one of the first societies I joined was the Finance Society and the Investment Society, because at Imperial there's two. So I'd say what I did, in terms of getting exposure to people in the society, because ultimately they're going to be deciding who becomes the next president, vice president, etc. I went to as many events as I could, mainly because I didn't really know anything about what the events were at the time, so I wanted to see what they were about. But I thought that was a good way also to get exposure to people. I started quite early in my thinking for all these sort of positions. I started thinking in the first term of university, next year I want to be in that position or that position, because I think it would be an interesting thing to do. The reason why is because, first of all, the people on the committee are also quite driven normally know what they want to do or have an idea what they want to do and are going about doing that. So I think being around people like that will be good as well. Secondly, planning events and planning different sort of society sort of functions is a very good way to develop your leadership skills and develop life skills in a way, because you have to deal with people on the outside who are not university centric. They don't revolve around the university like everyone else. So in terms of basketball, that was the reason I decided to become basketball captain, was because I thought that it would be good for me, and I thought that the team would also benefit in a way.
That good?
I mean, no, not quite. I mean, the way the society sort of works, the team, every year we have a team. We have a first team, second team, and third team, right? And someone from the team has to become captain. And in the year I was in, most people were sort of going off to do new things. They weren't going to get Imperial the next year. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to lead and start a new team. I mean, not a new team, but a new sort of team, and like the way it was positioned to me, it was a good idea.
Yeah. Have you seen The Last Dance on Netflix?
I have. It's great.
It is a very good show. Very good show. What are your thoughts on how, tunnel vision, the focus of Michael Jordan? It's quite controversial. There's a lot of people saying, there's pros and cons to it, but he had a certain way about him. What are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, to be honest, I've been under someone who has a similar mindset. And I will say, while it does push you to do your best, it's not particularly nice. So I wouldn't personally try and go about leading a team or any organization in that way, because I think that you can alienate people. Obviously, Michael Jordan is a great athlete, and you can't take anything away from it. It worked for him.
Yeah.
It worked for him very well, but I wouldn't do that. That's what I'm saying.
I guess it runs the risk of kind of destroying a few relationships or the
Yeah.
dynamic between the team. But I guess obviously Michael Jordan, you know, can't really say much to. Can't argue with it.
Won
Exactly.
6 rings.
Exactly. In terms of second last question, actually. So you touched on you like playing a lot of basketball. What
Yes.
else do you do outside of basketball and your academic studies or work that you like to spend your time doing?
I like to see people, just see meeting up with friends, things like that, just general casual chilling, because I think that social life is important. I go to Imperial. I went to Imperial. Imperial's reputation for not having a social life, and why that is somewhat true. However, I think that you can make it what you want.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's one of the things that I think was important in my university journey, sort of emphasizing that you need to have time to socialize as well. And my parents sort of told me that before, that you can't just do work and do basketball all the time, otherwise you'll burn out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's definitely important. I would have done that a little bit more if I had to go back and do it again.
No, I think it's important that you touch on that, because oftentimes, especially in this day and age where social media, you're constantly seeing all your peers doing so much, and you can often feel like, oh shit, I need to be working instead of chilling out, what have you.
Exactly.
Before we wrap up, if any of the viewers or anyone wanted to get in touch with you or reach out to you, if you want, what's the best way for them to do that? Would it be through LinkedIn or?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, my name is Joel McFarlane. Add me on LinkedIn. I can't answer every message all the time, but I can do most of them. So yeah, message me if you have a question.
Well, mate, once again, thanks a lot, and have a good rest of the day and weekend.
Thank you very much. You too.
Cheers, man. Take care.